All right, welcome back to Advent of Code. This is day 4. This day was logically and syntactically easy for most of it, but for some reason the part 2 like hung me up a lot. Part 1 I was able to do fairly quickly. Part 2, I don't know why it took me a bit longer. So let's switch over to screen share real quick. So here's the prompt for day 4. Basically, the elves are cleaning camp, and they've all been assigned sections that are basically, section 2 through section 4 or section 6 through section 8. So they're divided up into pairs, I believe. And basically, they noticed that there was some overlap there. So part 1 was basically identifying how many times there is a total overlap. So basically, section like 8 through 15 contains section 12 through 13. So it was counting how many times that happens. Section or part 2 was finding how many times there is any overlap at all in your input set. So if we look at the input set, it is much larger numbers, and you've got instances where there's partial overlap. So 10 through 73 is going to completely overlap 41 through 55, because all of the numbers in 41 through 55 can be found in 10 through 73. So this is fairly basic set theory. So if we pop over here, the solution for part 1 was fairly easy. It was basically if the so we're going through line by line again, and I'm actually probably going to add this for loop to the template because basically every day I've had to use it. So we're marching through line by line. We're trimming the line up to make sure that we don't have to worry about any white space at the end. We are splitting into the halves. So if we look at our input set, we are splitting by this comma right here. And then we are splitting each half into the beginning. So the first half beginning and the first half end. Second half beginning and second half end, and we are parsing it to a U32, which is just an integer, an unsigned integer. The first one, the logic behind it was fairly easy. If the first set's beginning is less than or equal to the second set's beginning, and the first set end is greater than or equal to the second set's end, or if the second set's beginning is less than or equal to the first set's beginning and the second set end is greater than or equal to the first set end, then you've got a total overlap there. And we're going to add to the sum. So if we go back to our main, comment out solution 2 and just run solution 1, save that, we're going to get, there's going to be an error for an overflow because I wasn't checking for, or not an overflow, index not found. Because I wasn't checking to make sure that we weren't running into the last line, which obviously if you try to split that in half, it's not going to work. There's basically an end line that's just white space. So we're going to get an error there, but the answer being 571. So if we go back, let me make sure that's the right answer. Yep, right there. So fairly simple logic there. Nothing super difficult. And then we don't yeah, that's what actually prints out the answer, theoretically, if we didn't have that overflow there. Second solution was logically, I understood how it worked from the beginning. For some reason, I just couldn't think of how to code it. I tried like 50 different ways and went back to the simplest way that basically was just the exact same as solution 1, but I changed the if statement. So I found a Stack Overflow answer that explains this pretty well that I'll go ahead and just leave it in the description. I won't try to hunt it down now. But basically, we're looking for any overlap in those sets at all. So if the first set's beginning is less than or equal to the second set's beginning, and the second set's beginning is less than or equal to the first set's end, then we've got an overlap. So it took me a little bit of brain power to kind of understand why that made sense. But obviously the code for this day is the easiest that it's ever been. This, because of Rust being Rust, it doesn't look like the simplest thing ever. But literally all these are doing is, we're taking each line, we're trimming it up, making sure that there's no white space, like I said. We're splitting it by that comma, and then we are, this first set is, the left side of the comma, the second side is the right side of the comma, and then we are splitting it by that dash so that we can get the beginning and the end items. and then we're parsing those into U32s, which are, again, just unsigned integers. So like I said, the code for today is very simple. The logic is technically simple. I don't know why. My brain just couldn't wrap itself around the logic for part 2. But I ended up getting it. I think it took me like 30 minutes to an hour because I was kind of debugging and trying to understand that code. I also tried to do it by converting everything into sets and checking for each individual member of each set and seeing if it was like it was a very dumb solution, and very, very inefficient. But that was my solution for day 4. Hope you guys have been enjoying this kind of advent of code thing. I've been enjoying it a lot. It's teaching me tons about Rust. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. Take it easy. Peace.